The Appendix of A Voyage in the Sunbeam, Our Home on the Ocean for 11 Months. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. A Voyage in the Sunbeam, Our Home on the Ocean for 11 Months by Anna Brassey, Appendix. When we finally sailed from Cowes on July 6, 1876, the list of persons on board the yacht was as follows: Thomas Brassey, Esq., M.P., owner; Mrs. Brassey; Thomas Allnutt Brassey; Mabel Annie Brassey; Muriel Agnes Brassey; Mary Adelaide Brassey; Hon. A. Y. Bingham; F. Hubert Freer, Esq.; Commander James Brown, R.N.; Captain Squire T. S. Lecky, R.N.R.; Henry Percy Potter, Esq., surgeon; Isaiah Powell, sailing master; Henry Kindred, boatswain; John Ridge Templeman, carpenter; Charles Cook, signalman and gunner; James Allen, coxswain of the gig; James Walford, captain of the hold; John Fail, coxswain of the cutter; Henry Parker, second coxswain of the gig; William Seborn, A.B., Walter Seborn, Turner Ennue, William Moulton, A.B., Albert Wiseman, John Green, Thomas Taylor, Frederick Butt, Henry Tichener, Thomas Powell, forecastle cook; William Cole, boy; Robert Rowbottom, engineer; Charles McKechnie, second engineer; Thomas Kirkham, leading fireman; George Burrage, fireman; George Leslie, steward; William Ainsworth, bedroom steward; Frederick Parsons, saloon steward; George Bassett, second saloon steward; William Pride, cook; Joseph Southgate, cook's mate; Emma Adams, nurse; Harriet Hoe, lady's maid; Mary Phillips, stewardess. The list of those who were temporarily on board the yacht during the voyage comprised the following persons: Arrivals: Crew of Monkshaven came on board the Sunbeam September 28. Arthur Turner, one of the crew, remained on board the Sunbeam as an able-bodied seaman. John Seborn, from U.S. Ashuelot, Hong Kong. John Shaw, undercook, Hong Kong. Isaac Ayak, Hong Kong. John Ahan, Hong Kong. Mahomet, fireman, Gaul. Abraham, fireman, Gaul. Tom Dollar, fireman, Gaul. Mr. and Mrs. Woodroff, Ismaila. Total 24. Departures: T. Allnutt Brassey, Rio. Crew of Monkshaven, 14, placed on board the Ultimand October 5. Captain Lecky, Buenos Aires. Geo. Leslie, Ensenada. Captain Brown, Honolulu. William Pride, Honolulu. John Fail, Malacca. Mahomet, fireman, Suez. Abraham, fireman, Suez. Tom Dollar, fireman, Aden. Mr. and Mrs. Woodruff, Port Said. Total 25. Note: Many were the preparations to be made before starting on our voyage. The crew had to be selected; we had to decide whether all, any, or none of the children should be taken; what friends we should invite to accompany us; what stores and provisions we should take, and to select from our little fleet of boats those which seemed best suited for the various requirements of the voyage. The whole number comprised: the Gleam, lifeboat cutter; the Glance, large gig; the Ray, light gig; the Trap, to catch a sunbeam, steam launch; the Mote, dingy; the Flash, light outrigger. Of these the Trap and the Ray had to be left behind. A letter from the Times of June 2, 1877. To the Editor of the Times. Sir: Believing it possible that some interest may attach to the voyage completed on May 27th by the arrival of the Sunbeam at Cowes, adventure to offer to your readers a short narrative of our proceedings. The expedition is in some respects unprecedented. A circumnavigation of 35,400 miles has never before been made in the short period of 46 weeks, from which must be deducted 112 days of well-earned repose in harbour. We had, it is true, the advantage of steam, without which such a performance would have been an impossibility, but we travelled 20,517 miles under sail alone, and the consumption of coal has not exceeded 350 tons. The Sunbeam sailed from Cowes on July 6, called at Torbay, Madeira, Teneriffe, and the Cape Verde, crossed the line on August 8, and carrying a favourable breeze in the south east trades, without even a momentary lull, a distance of 2,500 miles, arrived at Rio Janeiro on August 17th. Following the coasts of South America, we visited Montevideo, Buenos Aires, and Ensenada, steamed through the Straits of Magellan and Smith's Channel, and reached Valparaiso on October 21st. While on the coast of Patagonia, it was our privilege to rescue a crew of 15 hands from the barque Monkshaven, laden with an inflammable cargo of smelting coals, which had been on fire 6 days when we most providentially descried her signals of distress. On October 30th we commenced our long and lonely voyage of 12,330 miles across the Pacific. We touched at Bow Island in the Low Archipelago, Maitea and Tahiti in the Society Islands, and Hawaii and Oahu in the Sandwich Group. On January 21st we sighted Assumption in the Ladrones, and on the 29th arrived at Yokohama. While in Japan, we were present at the opening of the railway from Osaka to Kyoto by the Mikado, and subsequently cruised in the Inland Sea in severe winterly weather. At Shimonoseki we found the people much agitated by the recent outbreak of the Satsuma clan. On February 19th we bade a reluctant farewell to Japan, and following the most direct route to England, visited in succession Hong Kong, Canton, Macao, Singapore, Johore, Malacca, Penang, Galle, Colombo, Aden, Alexandria, Malta, Gibraltar, and Lisbon. Having given the principal dates, the story of its voyage will be most rapidly completed by entering our successive passages in a tabular statement. Thames and English Channel. Miles. Steam 193. Sail 205. Total 398. Torbay to Madeira. Miles. Steam 353. Sail 874. Total 1227. Madeira to Orotava, Teneriffe. Miles. Steam 164. Sail 72. Total 236. Orotava to Tarrafal Bay, San Antonio, Cape Verde. Miles. Steam 35. Sail 886. Total 921. Tarrafal Bay to Rio Janeiro. Miles. Steam 689. Sail 2647. Total 3336. Rio to Montevideo and Buenos Aires. Miles. Steam 509. Sail 712. Total 1221. Buenos Aires to Possession Bay, Straits of Magellan. Miles. Steam 816. Sail 524. Total 1340. In Straits of Magellan and Smith's Channel. Miles. Steam 565. Sail none. Total 565. To Lota and Valparaiso. Miles. Steam 634. Sail 500. Total 1134. Valparaiso to Yokohama, calling at Hao into Pomotu Group, Maitea and Tahiti in the Society Islands, and Hawaii on Oahu in the Sandwich Group. Miles. Steam 2108. Sail 10,225. Total 12,333. Yokohama to Kobe and Shimonoseki through the Inland Sea. Miles. Steam 653. Sail none. Total 653. Shimonoseki to Hong Kong. Miles. Steam 395. Sail 1015. Total 1410. Hong Kong to Singapore. Miles. Steam 312. Sail 1251. Total 1563. Singapore to Point de Galle, cowling at the Straits Settlements. Miles steam 1,668. Sail none. Total 1,668. Gull to Colombo on Aden. Miles steam 2,202. Sail none. Total 2,202. Aden to Suez. Miles steam 807. Sail 551. Total 1,358. Suez to Alexandria. Miles steam 436. Sail none. Total 436. Alexandria to Cowes, touching at Malta, Gibraltar, and Lisbon. Miles steam 2,440. Sail 934. Total 3,374. All in total, miles by steam 14,979. Miles by sail 20,396. Miles total 35,375. Having sketched the voyage in outline, the following details may not be devoid of interest to readers with nautical tastes. Every yachtsman should be a lover of sailing. In the cruise of the Sunbeam, although expedition was an essential consideration, steam has been used almost exclusively in calms or in narrow waters, or when, as it has often happened, we have sailed at sunset after a hard day's work on board, intending to make an offing during the night and set sails in the morning. Of the total distance of 15,000 knots under steam, 12,000 were traversed under those special circumstances which seem to justify even a yachtsman in availing himself of the unromantic but invaluable engine. The best run under steam alone was 230 knots, and the most successful continuous performance was on the passage from Penang to Galle, in the week ending April 15th, when the Sunbeam steamed 1,451 knots, with a daily consumption of 4 1/4 of tons of coal. The best runs under sail from noon to noon were 298 and 299 knots respectively. The first was on the passage from Honolulu to Yokohama, sailing along the 16th parallel of north latitude, and between 163° and 168° and 15 minutes east. The second was in the Formosa Channel. The highest speed ever attained under sail was 15 knots in a squall in the North Pacific. On 28 days the distance under sail alone has exceeded, and often considerably exceeded, 200 knots. The best consecutive runs under sail only were: 1. Week ending August 13th, South Atlantic, in the southeast trades, wind abeam, force 5, 1,456 knots. 2. Week ending November 19th, South Pacific, southeast trades, wind aft, force 5, 1,360 knots. 3. 4 days, January 15 to 18th, North Pacific, northeast trades, wind on the quarter, force 5 to 9, 1,027 knots. The average speed in this case was 107 knots an hour. The following were the average speeds of the longer passages: Cape Verdo to Rio, days at sea 18, total distance miles 3,336, distance under steam miles 689, daily average miles 185. Valparaiso to Yokohama, days at sea 72, total distance 12,333 miles, distance under steam 2,108 miles, daily average 171 miles. Simonoseki and Aden, days at sea 37, total distance 6,391 miles, distance under steam 4,577 miles, daily average 187 miles. The vessel which has carried us so rapidly and safely round the globe claims a brief description. She was designed by Mr. Sinclair Barne, of Liverpool, and may be technically defined as a composite 3-mast topsail-yard screw schooner, The engines by Messrs. Laird are of 7 nominal or 350 indicated horsepower, and developed a speed of 10.13 knots on the measured mile. The bunkers contain 80 tons of coal. The average daily consumption is 4 tons, and the speed 8 knots in fine weather. The principal dimensions of the hull are: length for tonnage 157 feet, beam extreme 27 feet 6 inches, displacement tonnage 531 tons, area of midship section 202 square feet. With an addition of 20 feet to the length and more engine power, the Sunbeam presents a type which might be found efficient for naval services in distant waters where good sailing qualities are essential and large ships are not required. On looking back and contrasting the anticipated difficulties with the actual experiences of the voyage, the ease and certainty with which every passage has been made are truly surprising. Our track has been for the most part within the tropics. The storms off the Cape of Good Hope and Cape Horn have been avoided in the inland passages of the Straits of Magellan and the Suez Canal. We have encountered no continuous stormy weather except during the 4 days preceding our arrival at Yokohama. We have suffered discomfort from heat and detention in calms, but storms have disturbed us seldom, and they have not lasted long. Our experience of gales include a northeast gale off Cape Finisterre on the outward voyage, a northerly gale between Rio and the River Plate, a westerly gale off the east coast of Patagonia, short but severe gales on each of the 4 days preceding our arrival at Yokohama, a severe gale from the northwest in the Inland Sea, a northeast gale in the Formosa Channel, a northerly gale in the Straits of Jubal, a westerly gale off Port Said, and an easterly gale on the south coast of Candia. On the passage homewards from Gibraltar we met strong northerly winds on the coast of Portugal, and a north-east gale off Cape Finisterre. The navigation has presented few difficulties. All the coasts we have visited have been surveyed. Lighthouses are now as numerous and efficient on the coasts of China and Japan as on the shores of Europe. Such is the perfection of the modern chronometer that lunar observations, the only difficult work in ocean navigation, are no longer necessary, and the wind charts published by the Admiralty supply to the amateur navigator accumulated information and valuable hints for every stage of his voyage. How infinitely easy is the task of the modern circumnavigator compared with the hazardous explorations of Magellan's and Captain Cook, when the chronometer was an instrument of rude and untrustworthy quality, when there were no charts, and the roaring of the breakers in the dead of night was the mariner's first warning that a coral reef was near. Our comprehensive and varied cruise has strengthened my former convictions that the disasters due to negligence bear a large proportion to the number of inevitable losses. Every coast is dangerous to the careless commander, but there are no frequented seas where, with the exercise of caution and reasonable skill, the dangers cannot be avoided. These remarks do not, of course, apply to cases of disaster from stress of weather. In fogs there must be delay, though not necessarily danger. In these days of lamentation over the degeneracy of the British seamen, my experience may be accepted as a contribution to the mass of evidence on this vexed question. I have not been surrounded by such smart seamen as can only be found on a man of war, but I have no ground for general or serious complaint. Many of my crew have done their duty most faithfully. In emergencies everybody has risen to the occasion, and has done best when his skill or endurance was most severely tried. My mariners, souls that have toiled and wrought and thought with me, that ever with a frolic welcome took the thunder and the sunshine. It is always in stormy weather that the good qualities of the British seaman are displayed to the greatest advantage. The difficulty is to keep up his interest and energies in long intervals of fine weather, when nothing occurs to rouse him to an effort, and the faculties of the seaman before the mast, no less than those of his officer, are benumbed by the monotony and isolation from mankind, which are the gravest drawbacks of a sailor's life. It is in these dull moments that men are tempted to drink and quarrel, that officers become tyrannical, and their crews insubordinate, or even mutinous. Lest it should be thought that my impressions of the average sailor are derived from an exceptional crew or picked men, I have only to add that the manning of the Sunbeam was a family job. The sailing master was related by blood or marriage to the majority of his subordinates, fishermen from the coast of Essex, who had received their early training among the banks and shoals at the mouth of the Thames. In this connection I tender my sincere tribute of praise to the officers of the Navy for their success in maintaining the efficiency and spirit of their crews through long commissions on foreign stations, much time being necessarily spent in harbour, in many cases in the most enervating climates. The discipline of the service seems to be admirable, and the seamen are reconciled to it by tradition, by early training, and perhaps by an instinctive perception of its necessity. I am equally bound to commend the efficiency of our consular service in the remotest outposts of civilization which we have visited, and evidences of good colonial administration are abundantly manifest in Hong Kong, Singapore, Penang, Ceylon, and Aden, in the prosperity and contentment of the people. It is scarcely necessary to observe, in conclusion, that experiences may be gathered in a voyage of circumnavigation which are not to be gleaned from blue books, or from shorter cruises in European waters. A more vivid impression is formed of the sailor's daily life, of his privations at sea, and his temptations on shore. The services required of the Navy are more clearly appreciated after a visit to distant foreign stations. Such a voyage indeed is a serious effort; it demands many laborious days and anxious nights of watching. For my safe return to those pale, those white-faced shores, so welcome to the homeward bound, accompanied, happily, by the adventurous little family who have taken part in the expedition, I am truly thankful. I am, Sir, your obedient servant, Thomas Brassey, Cowes. End of the Appendix. And this is also the end of A Voyage in the Sunbeam, Our Home on the Ocean for 11 Months, by Anna Brassey.